Real estate investing. Everybody talks about investing in real estate, but where do you even start? How do you get funding? Where do you look? How do you even manage real estate? Real estate investing can be complicated, but in this video, I am going to break it down for you so you will know exactly what it is that you need to do. And I'm going to take the guesswork out of it to make sure that even my beginners can go out there and jump into real estate. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep you updated on all things wealth building. Now let's get after it. Real estate investing, man, I used to be so confused about this topic. So first of all, what is real estate? Real estate is just the dirt. Let's just be honest. He who owns the dirt wins. We're all familiar with the game of Monopoly. Owning dirt, owning land, and owning a piece of property on top of that land is really a long-term investment. There are so many different types of ways that you can invest in real estate. It's absolutely unbelievable. But let's start with the basics. Most people start off investing in real estate by purchasing their first primary residence, a place that you're actually going to live in, a single family home. And notice I use the word single family home because that's a real estate term that you need to understand, making the distinction between single families and commercial real estate. Let's talk about commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is real estate that is beyond 1 to 4 units. When you're talking about 1 to 4 units, you're talking about residential, you're talking about pretty much single family. Anytime you're talking about real estate and you're going beyond 4 units, you are going over into what we call commercial real estate. Even though you can own a 8-unit apartment building and it's residential, for lending purposes, it is going to be called commercial. So I want to make sure that you understand that. So in terms of investing in real estate, you can go into a single family home. You can go into a duplex. You can go into an investment with someone else. You can also go into what we call a REIT, a real estate investment trust. That is where people are getting together and they're aggregating their money and they're going out buying those big, gigantic buildings that you see. There's so many ways for you to get into real estate. You just literally have to start pooling your money together. Financing, right? It always comes down to how am I going to purchase this piece of real estate? Where am I going to get the money from? Because in order to purchase real estate, you typically have to have some money somewhere to get into real estate. And I really want to talk about financing options. The very traditional way to finance real estate is to go out, get a loan with a bank. You're going to put 20% down, 20% of the asking price that you're going to purchase the real estate for. So if we're going to purchase a piece of real estate for $100,000, 20% down means I need to come up with $20,000. For a lot of us, that is not going to happen. So something that you can consider from a financing option is actually maybe doing a first and a second. Maybe you're going to take out a first loan that is going to allow you to do 80% of the loan amount, meaning if you're purchasing a property for $100,000, they're going to give you $80,000. That's going to be your first loan. Perhaps you could get a second for 15%. That means I have $80,000 on my first loan, I have $15,000 on the second loan, and I'm only going to come in with 5% down. Think about the different types of financing options that you can get with. The other way to finance property is to also do seller financing. Some people that own properties, they just want out of owning the property and they're willing to finance it for you. That means that you could be purchasing a property, for example, from myself, and perhaps I'm willing to be your bank. Perhaps I'm going to say to you, you know what? I know that you guys are starting out. I'm going to be your lender. You're going to pay me monthly instead of paying the bank. You're going to pay me with an interest rate, meaning I'm going to be earning interest on that money. A lot of sellers are willing to do that. You know why? Because typically those sellers don't necessarily need the cash flow. We're talking old money. They don't need the cash flow, but they're looking for some interest on their money. They can probably get a better deal doing seller financing than they can putting their money in the bank, because banks aren't really paying that much these days. So that's one way to get financing, called seller financing. Another way to get financing is to go to a hard money lender. Now, do I recommend a hard money lender all the time? Not all the time, but there may be times where you need to go to a hard money lender. And a hard money lender means they are going to lend you money and they are going to charge you a higher interest rate. Don't get all concerned and twisted about that. A hard money lender is only for a period of time. Say, for example, I may need to get into a house. I may not even have the down payment money, but I'm going to go to a hard money lender. He's going to say, you know what, Carla, I'm willing to lend you the money for 24 months. I'm willing to lend it to you at a higher interest rate. At the end of that 24 months, you need to be able to refinance and pay me back. So you're going to go to a hard money lender when you know you're in the meantime, in between time. Maybe you know you're getting ready to get a great job. Maybe you know something is getting ready to sell and you're going to come into some money. You got to make sure that if you use a hard money lender, that you have an exit strategy. Remember those movies we used to watch where they come collect their money and they break people's knees?
You got it? I told you, I need more time. I don't have the money.
I'm positive we'll think of something.
I'm not saying hard money lenders are going to do that, but they're going to come take the property from you if you're not able to pay them back timely. But that is definitely an option for you, is to go to a hard money lender. Another way that you can finance property is that you can pool your money together with others. Perhaps you're going to ask someone to lend you part of the down payment money, or perhaps you're going to invest with others. Pool your money together. Now, when you're really doing that at a high level, that is called a syndication. But perhaps you're just going to gather up a few of your friends and say, hey guys, you want to help me get into a piece of property? I need $20,000 down. I can put in 5. Can 3 of my friends put in 5 so that they have an equity investment in my property, or I'm going to pay them back. It doesn't always have to be an equity investment. An equity investment means they're going to own a portion of your property, equity ownership, or it could be a financing option where you have a friend that has some money and they're willing to loan you some, but you're willing to pay them back. Some of your friends may ask for a payback with no interest. Carla's going to ask for a payback with interest. Tips for managing property. Wow, this is such a big topic that you really need to understand. When you have property, and if it's an investment property, perhaps it is a rental property for the long haul. And if you have that particular property, you may manage it yourself. You may be the person that collects the rent. You may be the person that goes over and makes sure that the lawn is mowed. You may be the person that goes over and makes sure that the fire alarms are working properly. You can manage your own property. And I typically tell people that are starting out that you may want to manage your own property. Why do I say that? Because in order to hire a manager, you have to pay management fees. And a good manager is going to be somewhere around 10%. And I am going to tell you this right now. Do not undercut your manager, because your manager is your best friend. If you are going to choose to have a property manager, you want to make sure that property manager is treated well. Why? Because they are a property manager. They are managing properties. They have your property, John's property, Jill's property, Carla's property, everybody's property. What is going to make them treat your property as a priority? You're going to take care of them. So for my property managers, they get Christmas gifts, they get family Christmas cards, they get Seeds candy, they get Amazon gift cards. Why? Because anytime a good tenant comes up and my property is available for rent, I want them to go, you know what? I'm going to take care of Carla because Carla takes care of me. So it's so important that if you put a property manager on that property, that you're absolutely going to take care of your property manager. And if you put a property manager on your property, when you find your first good property manager, be looking for your second good property manager. and hopefully I'm not offending any property managers, but my experience has shown property managers have a shelf life. So I want to make sure I'm always looking out for my next good property manager. And if you are going to be in real estate in the Airbnb business, and you're not going to be the person doing it, managing the actual rentals, making sure you check on your property after someone exits the property, you better have a good property manager. And that person needs to have some type of repair skills, handyman skills, a handyman in their back pocket. You can make so much money off of real estate, but knowing how to manage your real estate is mission critical. Real estate is a business, and your tenants, although you're going to take care of them, you got to think of your tenants as little assets. They are paying for your property. That is how you're making your money, and they are not your friends. You're going to take care of them, but you got to stay on course and make sure you follow all of your rules that are written in your rental agreement. Now, how do you evaluate properties, right? This is such a big deal. Where do you go get these properties? How do you evaluate these properties? I am going to tell you that if you're just starting out in real estate, get yourself with a good realtor that deals with investors, if you're looking for an investment property, or a good realtor that deals with people that are looking to purchase their primary residence. And I don't necessarily think they're the same person. That's me personally from my experience. If you are going to go purchase a property, you got to do your own due diligence. Due diligence means that you're not going to just take the word of the person that's selling you the property. Selling you. They're a salesperson. No offense, but they are going to get paid when you purchase that property. You have to make sure that you are doing your due diligence. And what does doing your due diligence look like? Carla has some rules around that. Number one, if I am going to purchase a property, I am never going to be represented by the realtor that is selling the property. I'm not going to do that. Typically, a realtor that is selling a property may hold the property open, but they also want to represent you, the buyer. But who are they getting paid by? Their commission is coming from the seller. You cannot serve two gods. I am so sorry about that. I want to be represented by my own realtor who is going to make sure that my best interest is at heart. So that is mission number one. Do not be represented by the actual seller of the property if you are the buyer. Number two, if I am buying a piece of property, I want to make sure that I know what that neighborhood is looking like morning, noon, and night. I am going to go sit in front of that property at 2:00 in the morning. Why? Because I want to find out what is happening at 2 a.m. At 12 o'clock in the daytime, nothing is happening. All the kids are at school. All the hoodlums are asleep. The crime rate is low. You got to make sure that you are doing some due diligence. Research for yourself the address of that property. Go down to the local police station and see what the crime is in that particular area. Go down to your city municipality and find out, are there any regulations around them potentially tearing down that property? I know an individual right now that bought a piece of property, and they found out after they closed escrow that the people next door to them have a permit to build up really, really high. They're going to be able to look over in their backyard, and their whole view is going to be obstructed. A little bit of research, having gone down to see if there's any permits in the neighborhood, would have taken that person really, really far. So that's one way to evaluate property. Another way to evaluate property is to find out what is going on in that particular neighborhood. Are there new companies moving in? Is there a new industry there? Is it a developed neighborhood, an underdeveloped neighborhood? You gotta do some due diligence on that particular neighborhood that you're purchasing in. You wanna find out how many rentals are in the neighborhood, especially if you are buying as a primary and that's going to be where you live. If you're going to be around a bunch of people renting, are they going to take care of their properties? I don't know. Are they? What do those properties look like when you drive by them? If you are an investor and you going into a neighborhood, are there a bunch of rentals in the neighborhood? And your tenant is going to see that down the street, the rent is discounted by $100. So they're going to up and move down the street for $100 less. You got to do some due diligence. I really believe that when you are purchasing real estate, that as much as I am going to rely on a realtor, that I am going to do my own due diligence. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to go to the local grocery store. I'm going to start up conversation. We can just do some grassroots due diligence. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, Carla, we're investing out of state or we're investing in different areas. How do we know where to invest? You got to invest where the money is green. You got to invest where the market is going up. You got to invest where industry is going. And you're going to do that by finding a real estate agent that you trust, that can refer you to other people that can vouch for them. There's a million realtors out there, but you will find somebody that knows what they're doing. Take the time, investigate the realtor, do your due diligence on them, investigate the neighborhood for yourself, and invest in real estate. Because at the end of the day, they are not going to make any more dirt. And he who owns the most dirt is absolutely going to win. That is why it is so important for you to make sure that you start out getting some type of real estate, buy a piece of property, even if it's not in the neighborhood that you ultimately want to be in. My piece of property was in Compton, California. So pleased to say that. I sold that property, parlayed it into another piece of property. People need to live. They need to live indoors. They're going to pay their rent. Start investing somewhere. And now that you know better, you got to do better. That is why I want you to like, comment, and subscribe and start thinking about investing.